Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I've had a couple of comments on the Microsoft Flight Simulator ship sim videos that I've made. I'm using this Aerosoft crew vessel that comes with a paid add-on from Aerosoft. That's the North Sea Assets, which is basically adding thousands of offshore platforms and ships in the North Sea there. Yeah, one of the comments I had was, can we have a look at what it looks like, what vessels behave like in high winds and more normal sea conditions. So I'm going to go in here to these beautiful islands off Sicily. The weather is pretty bad out there at the moment. It was like 60 knots gusts. I think it's calmed down today. I came back 2 days ago. But I was in Marsala, which is... yeah, it's in here, I think. So let's have a look and see what it's like. I did update the crew vessel just to make sure that everything was working. If you want to spawn in your vessel, you could just click anywhere in the map and say custom departure. And let's see what we get. So sometimes the vessel is recognizing that it should be on the ground and it spawns it in on the ground. Maybe it's a tag, I think, in the metadata saying seaplane. But sometimes it doesn't recognize it. So let's see how we get on. So there we go. Okay, pretty good. So you can see there are some more waves with the current live weather. The thing that I've recorded in the other videos, and it's still unfortunately the case, is that we get this kind of weather veining into the wind. So I'm going to basically increase the throttles here, and it will pick up speed. Yeah, so the props pick up speed very slowly there, so we go to full power and then our props are picking up. So this vessel is pretty good. I think Aerosoft have given it a little bit of attention, and as you can see here, it does accelerate off in a somewhat realistic speed. So we'll get up to, I mean, this is airspeed. Unfortunately, this kind of vessel probably does about 20 knots maximum. The big issue I've got is that we've got this weather veining. So when I turn, so I've got full rudder in, I'm using my rudder pedals, but it's the same if I use the Xbox controller. I can get it to turn here. Let's try and get it around to the west. So we've gone through north, and basically it stops reacting at some point. So I'm pretty sure this is the sim assuming this is a seaplane, and seaplanes, you know, should have a nice weather veining kind of behavior. So basically heading into the wind because you want to take off into the wind. But it seems like this effect's a little bit strong, so I'm not too sure how you would turn a seaplane if you wanted to go the other way from the wind. So I'm not too sure what this is. If anybody knows, it'd be very interesting to do that. You can see that the vessel is bobbing around in the waves quite nicely here, so it's cutting through, and if you look from the side here, it's getting a little bit of pitch because I can't really go side onto the wave. We can't really see how much roll it gets, and it does actually cut through the water slightly, so there's a kind of volume effect in Flight Sim where the vessels actually cut through the water slightly. So it's pretty good from that point of view, but I just can't get it to go where I want unless I turn the wind off. Now, what everybody wants to see is, let's see what happens with a bit more wind. So I'm just going to put this on to, well, there used to be something like a front. Let's do overcast, because this is what it was like when I was there. So you can see as the wind is eased away, this vessel is now turning. I'm going to go to the ground layer, and the beautiful thing about Flight Sim, as you'll see, is that the waves are fantastic. So as you increase that wind, and this is going to head round to the west because the wind's from the west, I can use this to steer the vessel. Oh, okay, interesting. So that's what happens. Let's see if I can quickly, yeah, so I used slew to bring it round there. I'm just going to increase the throttles again. We'll go back to that weather scene. So wind appeared to blow it over. We've got 10 meters per second wind, which is pretty strong. Gusts I don't really want gusts, but that's okay. As you can see, yeah, the waves have got bigger. There's a very good CFX. It's one of the best seas in any digital world I've ever seen. And if we pump up the waves here, you see the wind, the waves basically are just directly related to that. So 23 meters per second is a pretty big wind. And unfortunately, you can see that the physics, as with many programs, the physics of this vessel simply just don't react in time to the size of those waves, unfortunately. So great in that Microsoft Flight Simulator actually has these absolutely massive waves. Why not just take it to limit? But the physics for vessels clearly here not really up to scratch. I'm just going to put it to max. If you look at my other videos, you see that I do sea trials in Stormworks, and that's actually overstressed the aircraft or the vessel. So there's a few things really missing from Flight Simulator to make this usable for ship simulation fans. The physics, as you can see there, is one thing. The weather veining is the other one. Unfortunately, yeah, that seems to be the way it is. So this weather veining here, let's just show you this behavior again. The vessel basically turns into the wind. So if I turn the wind to be from the west like it is here, you'll see that this vessel turns towards the west. I can make this a bit smaller. If I increase it a little bit, you'll see that it'll probably do that a bit quicker. So no matter what I do, the vessel basically turns into the wind direction. So if we put this wind to the north, we'll see that it probably turns back around to the north pretty quickly, actually. So this is obviously some sim behavior that we can't really influence. Yeah, if you turn it off, you can drive your vessel around quite nicely. That's not super typical. We did have the request to, make this kind of bad. Let's just change that wind down to 0. So we've got a storm but with no wind. Let's just do broken clouds. Yeah, this is actually a bit more like the conditions I had. So I'll take that wind away. Yeah, taking the wind away basically means that I have full authority to steer where I want to go. So I'm just gonna bring it around here to the right and go towards this beautiful island here. You can see the beauty of Microsoft Flight Simulator here with the reflections. The weather engine is just stunning. If you look at that, that just creates this realistic kind of maritime environment here that you get, where you can see little bits in the distance, clouds, and a little bit of sun behind us on Faviana, which is this beautiful island famous for tuna fishing. It's 2 flat flanks and then a pretty steep part in the middle. And I'll tell you what we'll do just to finish up. I'm just going to slew over to these places because they're so beautiful in real life, and I want to see what they're like in the sim. So this is pretty good actually. If you look at that, this is a beautiful little seaside town. It does have little square buildings like this. Let's see if we can navigate into the harbour here a little bit. So I've given it full throttle. There we go. Yeah, so that is a gorgeous little seaside town. Obviously when the weather's better, it does have these steep hills, and that's pretty representative of what sailing is like in Sicily last week, at least when the weather was very cloudy like this. Let's go over to Faviana Harbour. The other thing is, straight ahead you can see there's another island there that's called Maritimo that has basically got vertical cliffs, or very steep mountain on all sides. It's quite inaccessible, and that's really stunning to see. Let's bring up our VFR map if it comes up. So the port of Faviana is in this natural harbour here, slightly off to my left, before these hills. Yeah, so I should have known that. So again, I'm just going to slew over. That's the Y key, if you don't know what that is. And basically allows you to position yourself. If you're using your keys or your mouse, you can go super fast. I'm using an Xbox controller. So I'm going to just sail into this harbour. which I did a couple of times last week. So over here, this is actually a historical tuna factory. It does have chimneys, but it's these beautiful archway buildings. There is this castle up here, which is stunning. Again, this is no add-ons in the flight sim. This is actually a sea wall here. This is all raised up a couple of meters. That's basically your harbour side, and you have your catamaran that pulls in here, and a car ferry, a displacement car ferry that pulls in here. And then in the back here, where the yachts are, is the marina. So we'll try and pull in there. I actually tried to anchor in this bay. We couldn't get the anchor to hold, so we went into the fishing port, which is this part over here. So these are actually very small fishing vessels. In case you're wondering, I do have the marina add-on running, and what it does is it detects vessels which are on the 2D texture, and it adds vessels in. So you can see there how nice that is. So let's just slow down. So I tried to anchor in here. Beautiful sandy bay, but couldn't get it to work. Let's see if I can turn. I don't really have the turning speed. So yeah, maneuvering pretty tricky. Oh, it suddenly started turning more. I think there is reverse if you just hold it down, but I docked the first time over here with the fishing vessels, and the second time I backed in here. So let's see if we can bring her in here somewhat realistically. Beautiful place, good ice cream. Yeah, the buildings don't look like this. They're a little bit more combination of Greek style or maybe North African style, but you get the idea. It's a beautiful little old town with this castle in the background, and this is this tuna factory here, and it's a pretty stunning location when the weather's like this. So there we go. This is about 3 meters water depth as far as I remember in here in real life, and let's just see what happens if I go nose in here. So I was literally off the end of this pontoon here where all these little fishing boats are. So cut our throttle. Maybe probably just nose in on this. So there's a sense of momentum in the simulation. Yeah, I'm reversed now. Prop takes a while to come up. Alright, kind of works. A little bit tricky to get that right. Maybe with throttles it'd be easier. Let's see if it actually stops when it hits the deck. Yep, there we are, aground. So yeah, there's a bunch of things obviously to make this into the amazing ship simulator that we all believe it could be by the looks of it. But scenery is amazing. You've got the whole world. This is the default Italy scenery, and it's pretty good compared to the real thing. I've just been there last week. Obviously harbors would need add-on scenery to make these seawalls and fix sides and pontoons into 3D objects. So there are some from this marina add-on on Flight Sim is it IO, which adds a lot of this detail in, but they're not really usable as a vessel, and the vessels themselves of course need some work. So no weather veining. This may be a parameter which we can turn off, like is a seaplane for example, and the physics in those high waves would be great if that worked. No weather veining physics, and then things like bow thrusters and all this kind of stuff. But as you can see, you can navigate into a harbour like this. I'll just put her back out at sea and yeah, show you how beautiful it looks, and then we'll add in some weather again for fun. So there you go. This is a bit more what it was like when I was there. So much potential to be a great simulator for marine simulation fans. I'd love to see it with multiplayer as well. Imagine you could use ropes, you could tow, I don't know, there's a bunch of things you could do. You could have jet ski coming off the back, you could have your dinghy, you could have a large vessel, you could simulate operations. There's all sorts of stuff. By the way, if you're looking for a good simulator, I have tested Nautis Home from VStep. It's coming along. That's more of a realistic navigation simulation with very good physics for momentum and inertia. But if you want to have fun and you want to do kind of things on your vessel like tying ropes and opening doors and ramps, then Stormworks, which is a game on sea, is by far the best. It does take some knowledge to understand how to get the best from it in order of which vessels behave realistically, which ones don't, because there's lots of crazy vessels that can go 100 miles per hour. And of course it's got the advantage that you can build your own vessels in the Stormworks platform. So if you really want good ship simulation, have a look at a fun ship simulator, mission simulator, then have a look at Stormworks on my other channels. That's all for now. Cheers, take care, bye.